She snapped, "If you can't handle my crew's trash talk, just pay and go." I stood up, grabbed my purse, and said, "Thanks for the suggestion." Then I walked out of the Capitol Grill on 4th Avenue in downtown Seattle, leaving my boyfriend Ethan and his friends staring. The warm lights of the restaurant faded behind me as I stepped onto the sidewalk, the cool September air hitting my face. They thought I was joking until the server brought the check, and they saw I had only paid for my kale salad and iced tea. I am Amber, 30 years old, a freelance graphic designer working with tech startups around Seattle. I'm sitting in my car now, parked in a lot near Pike Place Market, the distant hum of street musicians mixing with my racing thoughts. I feel angry but also strangely relieved, like I have just shed a weight I did not realize I was carrying. Tonight was supposed to be Ethan's 31st birthday dinner, a night I planned to make special. Instead, it turned into this. Ethan, a software engineer, has been my partner for 2 years. We live together in a Belltown apartment with exposed brick walls and a view of the Sound. I paid $50 for my meal, $35 for the salad and tea, plus a generous tip because the server was kind. The rest of the table's bill, probably over $500, is not my problem anymore. Ethan is 31, a software engineer at a mid-sized tech firm in South Lake Union, one of those places with open-plan offices and free snacks in the kitchen. He codes for apps that help businesses manage their data, and he loves talking about algorithms over coffee. We met at a networking event in Capitol Hill at a co-working space called WeWork, where I was pitching designs to a startup founder. Ethan was there for the free beer and ended up chatting with me about my portfolio. He has this easy smile and a way of making complicated tech stuff sound interesting, even to someone like me who prefers sketching logos on paper. We bonded over pastries from Le Panier, that French bakery nearby with the best croissants in the city. Things moved quickly after that. We started dating, and 8 months ago, we decided to share an apartment in Belltown. It is a 1-bedroom with high ceilings, a small balcony where I sometimes work on my laptop watching ferries cross Puget Sound, and rent that runs about $2,500 a month. We split it, but I cover a bit more since my freelance schedule lets me work from home most days. Our relationship has been mostly good. Ethan is thoughtful in small ways, like bringing me coffee from his office's fancy machine or remembering to water my plants when I forget. But there is one thing that has always bothered me: his group of friends. He calls them his crew. 3 guys he has known since college at the University of Washington. Ryan is 32, works in sales for a software company, always wearing those slim-fit button-downs and talking about closing deals. Connor is 30, a project manager in the same field, the kind who organizes fantasy football leagues and quotes movies from the 90s. Dylan is 29, a developer like Ethan, but more laid back, with a beard and a collection of band t-shirts. They are tight-knit, meeting up for beers at places like Cloudburst Brewing in Pike Place, or watching Seahawks games at bars in Pioneer Square. I get that they have history, inside jokes from dorm days, but their humor often feels sharp, like they are competing to be the funniest at someone else's expense. Early on, their comments about me were light, things like teasing my job as playing with colors all day, or calling my vintage typewriter collection quirky grandma stuff. I brushed it off because Ethan would laugh, but later tell me he did not mean it, that they were just being guys. Lately, though, it has felt more pointed, especially when they drink. Tonight was Ethan's birthday, and I wanted to do something nice. I booked a table at the Capitol Grill because he loves a good steak, and the place has that upscale vibe with dark wood panels, leather booths, and servers who know the wine list by heart. It is the kind of spot where tech folks in Seattle go to celebrate promotions or milestones, fitting right into the city's mix of casual and fancy. I offered to treat the whole group, figuring it would be a fun way to show I care. I even spent a couple of days designing a custom birthday card for Ethan, with illustrations of code snippets turning into birthday cakes. We all met there around 7, the restaurant buzzing with after-work crowds. Things started fine. We ordered cocktails. Ethan got an old-fashioned, I stuck with iced tea since I was driving, and appetizers like calamari and shrimp cocktail. Everyone was chatting about work, the latest Mariners game, and how rainy it had been. Typical Seattle small talk. Then Ryan started in. So Amber, still doodling logos for startups? Must be nice having no real deadlines, just sipping lattes at coffee shops. He said it with a grin, but there was an edge, like he thought my work was less serious than theirs. Ryan has always been competitive, pushing for bigger commissions at his job, maybe because he grew up in a family where success was measured by paychecks. I smiled and said, "Graphic design involves a lot of problem solving, actually. I help companies build their brands from scratch." Connor cut in, laughing. "Yeah, but it's not like coding complex systems like Ethan does. That's the real brain work." Connor can be insecure about his own role sometimes, managing projects, but not always in the trenches. So maybe that is why he picks on others. The table chuckled. Ethan, too. I looked at him, hoping he would say something, but he just shrugged like it was no big deal. Dylan jumped in next. "And what's with those old typewriters you fiddle with? You know we have computers now, right?" They all laughed again. My hobby is restoring vintage typewriters. I find them at estate sales or online, clean them up in our apartment's spare corner that I turned into a mini workshop with tools and oilcloths. I just finished a 1950s Royal Quiet Deluxe, which cost me about $200 to buy and another $100 in parts, but it is worth around $600 now. It is satisfying, the click of the keys, a break from digital screens. I explained that, but Ryan smirked. Niche hobby, huh? More like a waste of time. Ethan, buddy, you could date someone with real drive like that marketing exec from the conference last month. Ethan shook his head, smiling, but did not defend me. It hurt because part of me wondered if he agreed a little, if my freelance life seemed unstable compared to his steady salary. The comments kept coming through dinner. They poked at my bohemian clothes. I was wearing a simple blouse and jeans, nothing flashy, and joked that I probably could not follow Ethan's tech conversations. Dylan even said I was lucky Ethan was dating down. I felt my face get hot, a mix of embarrassment and frustration. I love my job. I work from cafes like Storyville and Pike Place, sketching ideas while watching tourists, and my rates are about $50 an hour, enough to cover our life here. But their words made me doubt myself for a moment. I set my fork down. "Ethan, this is not funny to me." He sighed, looking a bit annoyed himself, maybe because the night was supposed to be about him. "Come on, babe, they are just joking. Lighten up." Connor laughed. "Whoa, sensitive much? Going to get upset over some friendly roasts?" I tried to stay calm, but inside I was torn. Part of me wanted to laugh it off to keep the peace, but another part was tired of it. I am not comfortable with this. That is when Ethan looked right at me and said, "If you cannot handle my crew's trash talk, just pay and go." The table went quiet for a second. Then Ryan snickered. "Ouch," he said it. I felt a sting, but also clarity. Ethan might have said it out of frustration, caught between his friends and me, but it was too much. I nodded. "Thanks for the suggestion." I pulled out my wallet, did the math for my part, $35 for the food and drink, $15 for the tip, and left $50 on the table. "This covers mine." Ethan rolled his eyes. "Amber, sit down. Do not be dramatic." I picked up my purse. "Enjoy your birthday." As I walked away, I heard Dylan mutter, "She'll be back in a minute. Watch." I did not go back. I made it to my car and sat there for a few minutes, staring at the dashboard, feeling a wave of sadness mixed with determination. It hurt to leave like that, especially on his birthday, but staying would have hurt more. My phone started lighting up about 10 minutes later. First from Ethan. "Very funny. Come back and pay the bill." Then, "This is not cute anymore, Amber." Then, "Are you serious right now?" I drove home to our apartment. The street's quiet except for the occasional bus rumbling by. More texts came in. Apparently, the reality sank in when the server brought the check. It was around $550 for the whole table. They had ordered ribeyes at about $50 each, a couple of bottles of wine at $15 a glass, and desserts like cheesecake. I had only left $50 for my part, which was fair since that is what Ethan suggested. Ethan called 12 times during my drive. I did not answer. When I got to the apartment, I listened to a few voicemails while sitting on the couch in our living room, surrounded by my design books on the coffee table and his gaming console under the TV. His messages started annoyed. "You embarrassed me in front of everyone." Then got more urgent. "I had to borrow money from Ryan to cover it. This is ridiculous." I felt a pang of guilt. He does not like owing people, especially his friends, but then I remembered how he let them talk to me. I packed a bag with some clothes, my laptop, and a few toiletries, the apartment feeling smaller and lonelier than usual. I decided to crash at my friend Mia's place in Fremont. Mia is 29, a barista at a coffee shop in the neighborhood with colorful tattoos and a no-nonsense attitude. She's been my go-to for advice since we met at a local art fair years ago. The texts kept coming all night. "Ethan, you humiliated me. My friends think you are being petty. You owe me $550. Ryan sent one too. Real classy move, ditching the bill like that. Connor even sent a Venmo request for $150 labeled for being a buzzkill. I blocked all 4 of them, Ethan and his crew, and tried to sleep on Mia's pull-out couch in her cozy 1-bedroom apartment, which smells like fresh ground coffee and has posters of indie bands on the walls. At 1 a.m, Ethan's voicemails turned harsher. "You are so selfish, Amber. My friends think you are a joke now." I lay there second-guessing myself a little. Maybe I overreacted, maybe it was just guys being guys, but deep down I knew I had to stand up for myself. Update 1. I did not sleep much last night, tossing on that lumpy couch, my mind replaying the dinner over and over. I woke up to knocking on Mia's door around 8 a.m. It was Ethan. I froze in the living room, listening as Mia answered. She's a total friend for handling it. She told him I was not there, even though my car was parked out front. Ethan sounded frustrated, his voice muffled through the door. "I know she is in there. Her Prius is right outside." Mia kept her cool. "Have not seen her. Maybe she parked and took an Uber somewhere." He stood there for about 15 minutes, alternating between knocking again and calling my blocked number from his phone. I could hear him pacing on the wooden porch of Mia's old craftsman-style house in Fremont, a neighborhood full of quirky shops and breweries, where people walk their dogs past murals and food trucks. Eventually, he left, but not before saying loudly, "This is so immature, Amber. You cannot just run away." Mia made us coffee after that, using her French press with beans from her work, and we sat at her kitchen table cluttered with mugs and sketchbooks. She dabbles in drawing, too. We talked for a while. She's been telling me for months that Ethan's friends are toxic and that he enables them. "Remember that barbecue at Gasworks Park last summer? They mocked your portfolio, saying it looked like kids' art. Or when they called your sister's handmade jewelry cute but cheap at her online shop launch. You deserve better, Amber." She is right. I have been making excuses too long, telling myself it was harmless banter, part of their bro culture from college days, but it wears you down. Around noon, I started getting calls from unknown numbers. I finally answered one. It was Ethan calling from his work phone at the office. "Amber, we need to talk." His voice was calmer, but I could hear the hum of keyboards and chatter in the background, that open office vibe in South Lake Union with its glass walls and standing desks. "Okay, talk," I said, feeling a mix of resolve and a little longing for how things used to be. He wanted me to come home. "You are being ridiculous, so your feelings got hurt. My friends were just having fun. You embarrassed me and stuck me with a $550 bill." I replied, "I paid for my meal, Ethan. You told me to pay and go if I could not handle it." He switched tones, sounding almost pleading. "I did not think you would actually leave. Who does that? I am sorry they went too far. Come home and we can talk. but can you please send me the money for last night? I had to put it on my credit card, and you know I hate carrying a balance. I felt conflicted. He does worry about finances, saving for things like trips to the San Juans, but this was not about money for me. You let your friends insult me all night while you laughed along. I am not paying for that. He got defensive again. This is insane. You cannot just... I hung up. He tried calling from other numbers, maybe borrowing coworkers' phones, but I stopped answering. Then something unexpected happened. I got a text from an unknown number. "Hey, this is Sarah, Dylan's girlfriend. I heard what went down last night, and good for you standing up. Those guys have been ragging on you for ages." Dylan showed me the texts, and honestly, you did the right thing. Sarah is 28, works as a teacher in the Seattle School District, and we have chatted at group hangouts before. She always seemed nicer than the guys, bringing homemade cookies to parties and asking about my designs. She added, "They are all at Ethan's apartment right now, plotting some kind of payback." Payback for what? For not covering their expensive night out? I thanked her and said I appreciated the heads up. It made me feel less alone, but also wary. I'm going to stay at Mia's for a few more days while I figure out what is next. The lease on our Belltown place is in both our names, but I pay the majority of the rent since my work is flexible. I will need to sort that out soon. What bothers me most is that Ethan has not really apologized for his friend's behavior or admitted how wrong it was. It is all about the money and his embarrassment. Update 2. Things got worse today. I went back to the apartment while Ethan was at work to grab more of my things. As I approached the door, I saw a notice taped to it, a noise complaint from last night. Apparently, their gathering to discuss payback got loud enough that neighbors complained. Our building is an older mid-rise in Belltown, with thin walls and a mix of young professionals and artists, so noise travels easily. Inside, the place was a mess. Beer cans scattered on the coffee table, pizza boxes on the counter, and crumbs on the floor near the balcony. It smelled like stale takeout and whatever IPA they were drinking. I felt a surge of irritation. Ethan usually keeps things tidy, but when his friends are over, it turns into a frat house. The real shock came when I checked my workshop corner. My 1950s Royal Quiet Deluxe typewriter was missing from the shelf. I searched around and found it had been listed on eBay for $200, described as a vintage piece needing TLC. It is worth about $600, and I have the receipts from when I bought it at an estate sale in Ballard last year. Then I noticed my Wacom tablet was gone from my desk drawer. That is my main tool for digital designs. A model I bought for $350 2 years ago to handle client projects like app interfaces. I checked Facebook Marketplace through a friend's account, and there it was, listed for $150 by Ethan. My stomach dropped. I felt violated but also furious that he would go through my stuff like that. Maybe he was desperate after the dinner bill or pressured by his friends to get even, but it crossed a line. I took screenshots of everything, including the listings and my original purchase receipts. Then I called the Seattle Police Department's non-emergency line from Mia's phone. I explained the situation calmly. We live together, but these items are mine alone, bought before we met, and he listed them without permission. The officer said it is tricky because we share the space, but if the items are personal property and the value is under $750, selling them could count as theft in the 3rd degree under state law, which is a gross misdemeanor. They suggested I file a report to document it, though it might not lead to charges right away since it is a domestic issue. I did not push for anything more. I just wanted it on record. It made me feel a bit empowered, but also sad that it had come to this. While I was packing more clothes and my remaining typewriters into boxes, I got a text from our landlord, Ms. Lopez. She manages the building, a no-frills woman in her 50s who lives nearby and handles maintenance calls herself. "Amber, need to talk about the lease. Ethan says you abandoned the apartment and wants you off the lease. Also received a noise complaint. Please call." I called her right away. Ms. Lopez, I have only been gone a couple days because of a personal situation. I am not abandoning anything. In fact, I am here now packing some things. She sounded relieved. He made it sound like you left for good. Look, between us, I would rather keep you as a tenant. You have always paid on time, and there were no issues until this noise thing. I asked about taking over the lease solo. She said she is open to it if Ethan agrees to be removed, or we both break the lease. But under Washington law, it needs mutual consent or a court order if there is a dispute. The noise complaint is a problem. One more could give grounds for a notice to comply or vacate. It felt like a small win, but I was exhausted by the whole thing. I loaded my car with the boxes and drove back to Mia's, the traffic on Aurora Avenue North as usual, slow with construction cones everywhere. Ethan texted from his mom's phone later, admitting his friends were out of line, but still asking for the $550. No full apology, just excuses. I did not reply. His crew is starting to crack. Sarah told me she argued with Dylan about his attitude, and Connor's girlfriend is questioning his entitlement after seeing his Venmo to me. Ryan is dealing with work stress, slacking off posting memes instead of hitting quotas. It is messy, but I am focusing on myself now. Final update. It has been a week now, and things have unraveled for Ethan's group in ways I did not expect. Sarah ended up dumping Dylan after he called her just a phase in texts to his friends. She saw them and realized he was as dismissive with her as they were with me. Connor's girlfriend is rethinking their relationship too. She saw his Venmo request to me and confronted him about being so entitled, especially since he complains about his own job stress but picks on others. Ryan got in trouble at work, not directly because of this, but for spending too much time on social media during calls, posting memes about flaky people, which his boss noticed. It is like their tight-knit dynamic was built on putting others down, and once that cracked, they turned inward. On the lease front, Ms. Lopez served Ethan a 10-day notice to comply or quit because of the noise complaint and the unauthorized listings of property, which violated the lease terms about not causing disturbances or using the space for sales without permission. It is not an immediate eviction, just a warning to fix the issues or leave, as per Washington rental laws. Ethan refused to be removed at first, thinking he had leverage, but after the police followed up on my report with a visit, he changed his tune. The officer explained to him that while no charges were filed yet, selling my items could lead to issues if I pursued it. He agreed to sign off the lease, and I took it over solo for now, though I plan to move soon. I found a studio apartment in Queen Anne, a hilly neighborhood with views of the Space Needle and coffee shops on every corner. The rent is about $2,000 a month, cheaper than Belltown because it is smaller. No balcony, just a cozy space with good light for my desk and a kitchenette. Mia helped me move last weekend, carrying boxes up the stairs while we joked about starting fresh. I am focusing on my work, a new project designing branding for a local startup, which should pay around $2,500 when done, and restoring a 1940s Underwood typewriter I picked up at a flea market in Fremont. The keys stick a bit, but fixing it calms me. Last week, I ran into Sarah at Pike Place Market, browsing the flower stalls. We grabbed coffee at Storyville, sitting at a window table watching the crowds. We talked about our exes' egos and how we both overlooked red flags to fit in. We are planning to meet again for a craft market in Ballard. Ethan texted yesterday from yet another number. I messed up, Amber. My friends were toxic and I should have stood up for you. Can we try again? It tugged at me a little. I miss the good parts, like our quiet evenings watching shows. But it is too late. I did not respond. There is nothing left to say. Mia said something that stuck. You did not just dodge a bullet, you dodged a whole storm. She is right. My mom called yesterday and said I sounded happier than I have in a while. She is correct. It is funny how much lighter you feel when you stop putting up with people who do not respect you. Sometimes the best way forward is just walking away and letting things sort themselves out.